Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bible study. I'm R.K. Brown. I'm glad to be with you. A couple of weeks ago, I did a teaching called The Patriarchy, and I started with this scripture, Isaiah chapter 3:12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. It is a curse on a nation when women rule over them. Feminism is a curse. Now, if you're a feminist, I'm going to say this. I kind of get why feminism has happened because men have mistreated women over the centuries so badly that women have come to the place where they've had enough of it, and men have become so weak that they've allowed it to happen. And now young boys are raised by feminist mothers, and even their mothers sometimes don't even realize they're feminists, but they are raised by feminist mothers that do not know how to raise a son. And so really, when you get right down to it, feminism is because of men, not because of women. I believe that for the most part, women who are now feminists, if they had been treated right by their fathers and or other males in their lives, males are all the time molesting young girls and stuff like that. If they had been treated right in their life by males, probably a good many of them, probably most of them, would not even want to be feminists. They would probably happily take their role as women, because women seem to be most happy when they take the role of wife and mother. I know that's foreign to the ears of a feminist, but that is the case. So I talked about the patriarchy, and I talked about how in Antifa and BLM, particularly BLM, women are leading. The two leaders of BLM are two black lesbian women, as Jesse Lee Peterson calls them, two fat black lesbian women. And they are in large part led by women, and that is a curse upon them. Black people, black young men, young boys don't have their fathers in the house very often. Therefore, they're raised by their mothers, and they don't really know how to be men. They have the strength of men. They have the testosterone of men. They know how to fight. They're willing to fight, but they don't have the discipline of men. They have the emotion of women and the strength of men. And that's not a good combination. Stoicism is a good thing. To remain calm in tough situations is a good thing. And you learn that from having a good father in the household. Now, obviously, if you have a bad father in the household, then you're really not going to learn anything from him. Not anything useful. I mean, he might teach you how to turn a wrench or, use a screwdriver or a drill or play an instrument or whatever he does, he may teach you how to do it. But if he's not a good guy, he's not going to teach you those things you need to live a life, a successful life in this world. And I'm talking to believer as well as unbeliever at that particular point. So, having said all that, I believe that we have a civil war coming in our nation based around the left-right paradigm, based around the fact that the people on the left utterly despise Donald Trump. And I'm talking about the people on the far left. There are a lot of people that are center left that are actually switching to center right and are going to vote for Donald Trump this go around because they're sick of the riots and all the just far left, transgender, nonsense, where you can't even call somebody Mr. or Miss anymore because they think they're the opposite sex. And they will tell you, some of those people will tell you that, you can be whatever sex you think you are, and that's biological. God, what a moron. You'd either have to be devil possessed or just a moron to go along with something like that. Because obviously a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and it can clearly be just, illustrated, whatever the word is I'm looking for, completely be displayed or, shown. It can be shown to be clear. So I believe that because of that left-right paradigm and because the people on the far left are communists and socialists, they hate Donald Trump and they hate Donald Trump's supporters. I personally believe that the reason they do is because one of the major tenets, in fact, maybe the major tenet of communism, is the abolition of private property. And I believe that the reason they hate Donald Trump so much is because he owns so much property. Not just because he's a rich man, but because he particularly owns so much property. I think they despise that about him. That's my own personal opinion. So I believe that that is leading us into a civil war. Now, y'all know that I'm not voting for Donald Trump because I have a biblical issue with him that is bigger than the left-right paradigm. So I can say what I'm saying with a clear conscience. I'm not voting for him, not because I don't think that he's done some good things, because I do think that he's done some good things. But he supports the homos, the sodomites, and I can't get behind that because that's a good way to get your nation destroyed by fire. So I believe that we're going into some kind of civil disturbance, whether it's an all-out civil war like you would see in Isaiah 19, where they're fighting from house to house and street to street, or whether it's more localized, maybe in the really ultra-liberal cities like, Portland and LA and Seattle and New York City and places like that, Hopefully it won't reach into the South, but I would love for it not to reach anywhere. I would love for us to somehow be able to resolve these issues. But I believe there's some sort of a civil altercation coming that's going to be very large, national. And having said that, I told you already that women are leading BLM and Antifa rallies a lot, that women are some of the loudest voices out there. And on the right, I noticed that women are preparing to defend their households, and I don't blame them. They have houses and husbands and children, people that they love, and I'm telling you, a woman will defend the people that she loves. So I'm going to give you some biblical stories tonight. I'm going to give you 3 different stories of how women won the battle. Everything's in the Bible. I'm not good enough with the Bible to be able to always pull out the scripture about everything that I want to talk about, but I believe that everything that you could ever talk about can be talked about from the Bible. I'm just not good enough with it to do that, and I don't know that I know anybody that really is able to talk about everything that they think about that they want to talk about. Anyway, let's start with Deborah and a woman named Jael. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. During this time of the judges, when one man died, another man would rise up and judge Israel, judge their civil matters and stuff like that. And Ehud was a judge, and he died. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. Now I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to talk about this for a second. Let's just park this apparatus. A lot of people will say when you tell them that the scripture, that Paul says, I permit not a woman to teach, and let your women keep silence in the church, they'll always go, well, what about Deborah? Well, here's the thing about Deborah. We just read that the children of Israel turned away from the Lord. They've obviously turned to idols. So how does it say it again? And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. So they obviously they worshipped idols, and they probably ran their children through the fire and all that kind of stuff that they did when they were, wicked. And so Deborah is not their judge in good times. Deborah is their judge because there's not a man in Israel that will judge. I used to be in the charismatic movement, and women were always leaders in the charismatic movement, and it's because and even the women used to say, because there's no men that will do it. And I believe that this is the case with Deborah. Deborah's not leading because she's God's first choice. Deborah is leading because there's no men to lead in Israel, because they are all doing evil in the sight of the Lord. It's a curse upon them that Deborah is leading. God is going to bless because he does with his people. Like if you read the story of Joseph, you see that God, even when somebody is going through adversity, he's still got his hand on them to bless them. And he even blesses them through Deborah. But Deborah being their judge is actually an indictment against them. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Let's move on. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kedesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun, and I will draw unto thee. Let me read that again. And I will draw unto thee to the river of Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor, for the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kedesh, and Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kedesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Pastor Stephen L. Anderson, who I listen to, who I have an immense amount of respect for out in Tempe, Arizona, won't even call him Barak. He calls him like Barak because of Barack Obama. But I am particularly calling him Barak because he wouldn't go unless a woman went with him. Now, she was going to obviously decoy Sisera to the river Kishon and, draw him there, and then Barak was going to go after Sisera. But he said, no, if you don't go with me, I ain't going. So she went with him, but she said a woman is going to get the credit for the kill. And so this is what we're going to be reading about in a minute. But I call him Barak specifically because he said, I won't go unless you go with me. Now Heber, the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses. Now that's interesting that it calls the father-in-law of Moses Hobab. He has basically three names. He goes by the name of Jethro, by the name of Reuel, and by the name of Hobab. Just found that interesting. I'll read that again. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zaanaim, which is by Kedesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him from Harosheth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots and all his host with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. But Barak, I just love just emphasizing that, but Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host of Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Howbeit, Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, for there was a peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. Again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, and say, Is there any man here? That thou shalt say, No. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took an hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temple, and fastened it into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary. So he died. And behold, Barak pursued Sisera. Jael came out to meet him. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, Come, then I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. I just realized something as I was reading that text there, that Heber was at peace with Jabin the king that was the enemy of Israel. And so the king of Heshbon, that was the enemy of Israel. So Heber's wife actually would have gone against him by killing Sisera. Just thought I'd point that out. I just found that to be very interesting, and I didn't notice that until just now. Well, I'll tell you, it's amazing how much stuff is in the Word. Now we're going to move to another story in Judges chapter 9. You're going to see a character named Jerubbaal. Jerubbaal is also Gideon, who was a great hero in Israel, and he had 70 sons. And one of his sons killed most of the rest of them. I guess it says he killed 70 sons, but when you do the math, it's really 68. But basically, he killed all his sons but one. So let's pick up the story there. This is a new story. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, remember Jerubbaal is Gideon, went to Shechem, let's call it Shechem, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray ye, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. So he's created a red herring there. He said, because my father, Jerubbaal, or Gideon, has 70 sons, they're all going to rule over you. Don't you think it would be better if just one person ruled over you instead of this guy telling you this and this guy telling you this and this guy telling you this, all the way down to 70 people? Don't you think it would be better if just I, your brother, the person of your family, who is of the people of Shechem, don't you think it would be better if I ruled over you? So he's created a false paradigm there. Verse 3. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words. And their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother. And they gave him 60 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. That description, vain and light persons, might well be described as sons of Belial or sons of the devil. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 60 persons, upon one stone, notwithstanding yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. And then Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, the youngest one who was left, went into the mountains and called out to the people and told them that they did a wicked thing. And he said, if y'all done right, then, let the Lord bless you. But if not, let a curse be on you. So Abimelech ends up ruling in Shechem. But eventually, because the Lord was in this, the Lord turned against Abimelech, turned the hearts of the men of Shechem against Abimelech. And they then made war with Abimelech. And so now war has broken out, and Abimelech is on the rampage. He's trying to save himself. We pick up the story here. He's fighting with the people of Shechem, who he once ruled over. The younger son of Gideon put a curse on him, or spake a curse over him in the name of the Lord, basically. The Lord was with it. What you bind on earth is bound in heaven. What you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. That kind of principle. And so he's fighting with the men of Shechem. I'm just kind of trying to be really descriptive about this because I'm not reading the whole story. I'm giving you the backstory. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day. And he took the city and slew the people that was therein, and beat down the city and sowed it with salt. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that they entered into an hold of the house of the god Berith. And it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. And Abimelech gat him up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand and cut down a bow from the trees and took it and laid it on his shoulder and said unto the people that were with him, What ye have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down every man his bow, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the hold, and set the hold on fire upon them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died, also about 1,000 men and women. And of course, this happened to them because they took their part with Abimelech and, went along with the killing of the sons of Jerubbaal. Then went Abimelech to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women and all they of the city, and shut it to them, and gat them up to the top of the tower. And Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman, here we go, a woman is the hero again of the story. And a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. And he called hastily unto the young man, his armor-bearer, and said unto him, Draw thy sword, and slay me, that men say not of me, A woman slew him. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place. So Abimelech was willing to have his armor bearer thrust him through just so it could be said that a woman didn't kill him. But a woman did kill him, and 3,500 years probably or more later, we're talking about that, and it is well known throughout the whole world, everywhere that there's a Bible. It is well known that a woman killed Abimelech by throwing that stone on his head, because he would have died anyway. The only reason he wanted his armor bearer to thrust him through is so he would die quicker, so that it wouldn't be said that a woman killed him. But guess what, Abimelech? As you burn in hell, there is a woman that killed you. Enemy of God, Abimelech, and a woman killed him. So we have seen two stories thus far where a woman killed the adversary of Israel. Let me see what I got here. Okay, and I have just the rest of the story. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in slaying his 70 brethren, and all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. So God respected the curse that Jotham put on them. Like I said, what you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and what you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. God bound them because Jotham, whatever his name was there, bound them. I don't know. Japheth, I can't even remember what the vowel was now. Anyway, you get the idea of the story. But so far we've seen two stories where women actually killed the adversary and stopped the battle. So now we're going to see something that obviously would be a better situation, where a woman wouldn't have to do violence. Because, these women, I would imagine that when you kill somebody, it's a pretty terrible thing. If you're any kind of a decent person at all, I've never killed anybody. I know a lot of men who have killed people in war, and a lot of them have a hard time with it. Even Christians who know that they've been forgiven have a hard time with it, because, man, it's taking a human life. Somebody that, if it weren't in time of war, somebody you might be friends with. So this is not a light thing that these women have killed somebody. But let's see how the wisdom of a woman saved a situation. We go all the way to 2 Samuel chapter 20, and we're in the reign of King David. Absalom had taken over the kingdom. Absalom, who is David's son, had taken over the kingdom for a brief period of time, and David is just now coming back into the kingdom after Absalom is killed. And this is where we pick up the story. And there happened to be there, I'm on the wrong row of, no, I'm not. I'm in the right place. And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, We have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel. So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah clave unto their king from Jordan even to Jerusalem. Now you see what's happening here. David's come back into the kingdom, but somebody who's a son of Belial, or a son of the devil, Belial is the devil. He's a son of the devil, says, we're not following you. We have no part in David, and every man to his house. And so they all just went away from following David, except for the men of Judah, David's own kinsmen. They clave to him. So we jump down from verse 2 to verse 6. And David said to Abishai, Now shall Sheba, the son of Bichri, do more harm than did Absalom. Take thou thy Lord's servants, and pursue after him, lest he get him fenced cities and escape us. And there went out after him Joab's men, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. So Abishai and Joab are brothers. And Joab, I don't know if he's the older brother or what, but he's the general of David's army. And David is saying, take saying to Abishai, go with your Lord, go with Joab, and take this guy, because he's going to do more harm to us than Absalom did when he took the kingdom, if he gets away and gets a chance to get into some fenced cities where he can defend himself. So they go hard after him, right? So now they're pursuing him in a certain city. So we jump down to verse 14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel. We're talking about Sheba here. He went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth-maachah and all the Berites. And they were gathered together and went also after him. Maybe we're talking about Joab. Maybe we're talking about Joab gathering everybody together. Anyway, somehow they're all gathered together. So there are some other people, even outside of Judah, that are gathered after him, it appears to me. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah. And they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench. And all the people that were with Joab battered the wall and threw it down. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, Come near hither, that I may speak with thee. And when he was come near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thy handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, saying, They were wont to speak in old time, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel, and so they ended the matter. That is a weird phrase there. They shall surely ask counsel at the... How'd she say it again? It's such strange wording. They were wont to say in old time, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel, and thus they ended the matter. In other words, what she's saying there is the people of the city of Abel have wisdom. And so when you come to ask counsel of them, that takes care of the situation. That ends the matter. You don't have to go any further. And the Bible is even telling us that she was a very wise woman. So there obviously was something about the wisdom of those people there. Somebody had taught them well. I am one of them, the woman is saying. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab answered and said, Far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. The matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, hath lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it to Joab, and he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent, and Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. So in this case, a woman saved the day not by having to kill anybody, but by saying, hey, we the city, will kill this man. And she used her wisdom and saved the city because Joab was about to, really wreak havoc on that place until this woman, in her wisdom, made him think better of it and got his thinking right. There's another story in 1 Samuel 25 where a woman with her wisdom, and it's a long story, so I didn't put it in this thing, but there's another story where a woman named Abigail does a similar thing with David and keeps him from destroying a bunch of innocent lives because he was angry about a particular situation. Go read 1 Samuel 25. And this woman, Abigail, with her wisdom also did the same thing. Okay, why did I say all this? Well, as I said at the beginning, I believe that we in the United States of America are on the brink of some kind of civil war. I don't know if it's going to be nationwide, if it's going to be regional, if it's going to be pockets of warfare, for lack of a better word. Actually, I guess it's the right word. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I believe that we are in such turmoil. And Jesus said a house divided against itself cannot stand, or a kingdom or a nation divided against itself cannot stand. America cannot stand being divided against itself. It is bound to fall. I don't like to say it. I love living in the United States of America. I love living in the West. I love Western thought. I love Western values, because Western values are basically Christian values, sometimes run amok, but Western values are basically Bible values. I love living here. I don't want to see this happen. But there is a whole movement of communist, socialist people that want to take over our country. And I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen. It breaks my heart. And they're being led by women. And then on the right, women are arming themselves, ready to protect their households. And women, good for you. Good for you for being willing to protect your households. You should arm yourselves. You should know how to use weapons. Don't arm yourself if you don't learn how to use a weapon, because you could kill yourself. You could shoot one of your children. You could shoot your husband. You could shoot the wrong person. Do not get a weapon unless you know how to use it. And there are places where you can learn how to use it. But I commend you, women that are doing thus, that you're willing to protect your family, that you're willing to stand side by side with your husband, or if you don't have a husband, to protect your children. That ain't a bad thing, and I think this is a necessary thing. I do not want to live in a communist country. I don't exactly know how to approach this as a Christian, to be honest with you, because I feel like part of me wants to be a conscientious objector, but I feel like I'm a part of this country too. I'm a citizen who has the right to vote. I've enjoyed the freedoms of this nation that this nation has offered me. I enjoy the freedom of speech. I can stand up here and speak against the president or anybody in the government, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, for instance. I can speak against them, those wicked people, and there's going to be no trouble. Nobody's going to, some individual may come after me, but there is no government entity that's going to come after me. I have freedom of speech as far as the government is concerned. There is no law speaking against me saying whatever I want to, as long as I'm not yelling fire in a crowded theater. I love this country. I'm a legally blind person. I don't know what I can do to help. But I pretty much resigned myself that if this happens, I need to be in it. I need to be prepared to protect my country whatever way I can. If nothing else, to teach you the scriptures. If nothing else, to be a chaplain or some kind of something like that in some militia. But I love my country. And God bless you women for being willing to protect your families. But I'll tell you this, you need to be saved. You need to be born again. You need to be depending on the Lord Jesus Christ, not only in this life, but particularly in the life to come, so that you can be saved, so you can walk streets of gold, so you can stand before the face of the Lord and praise His name forever. I guess that's my lesson. I hope it made sense. I hope you get something out of it. This is stuff that's really on my heart right now, this, encroaching civil war, or at least what seems to me like an encroaching civil war, an approaching civil war. So be ready. Get ready. I posted a little thing, one of those colored background things with white letters on Facebook. I posted not too long ago that, something to the effect of, it's, in order to prevent war, it's better to prepare for war. I'm telling you right now, prepare and be so strong that nobody would dare to come against you. But when you do that, you better put your trust in the Lord. Because if you don't trust in the Lord, no matter how well you prepare, He may very well let you be taken down, no matter how well you're prepared. Your trust better first be in God through the name of His Son, Jesus Christ. I hope I've done good here. If you're watching by Facebook and or YouTube, then do as the kids say and smash the like button and go to my YouTube page, which is, if I can find the button here, Bible Study with R.K. Brown. I still have 225 subscribers. Y'all subscribe to my YouTube page and, hit the like button and the bell, and so you can be notified whenever I upload a message like this. But that is all for this evening. Lord willing, I'll see you next week. Until then, may the Lord go with you. Good night.